What's up, guys? It's your girl Faith Victoria. I'm back with another lit video. So before we get into today's video, I know I have not posted in like a long time. I've been MIA for a long time, but it is summer now, no more school, so I'm gonna try to get back on making videos. And I am still working, but I'm off on Mondays and Saturdays, so I'll be filming Monday and posting Saturday, or like vice versa. But I will be figuring that out within the week. It's coming up and whatnot, and finding like a set schedule. So yeah, as you can tell by the title of that video, I'm gonna be giving you 15 Netflix original TV shows suggestions for you to watch during the summer. And let me tell you, we got a good list. Some of it is TV shows you probably already heard of. Some you probably haven't heard of on Netflix, but don't you fret, because I'm gonna give it to you. So without further ado, let's get started in this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and turn on that post notification bell to get notified every time I upload. And without further ado, let's get in the video. First on the list is Ginny and Georgia. And I'm gonna try and see if I can like put the pictures for the show like right here. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Hopefully I can. So yeah. But Ginny and Georgia. So basically it's about a small family. Ginny and her mother and her brother. So Georgia is her mother, and basically the plot is Ginny's life growing up. Like, they've moved to a small town. I'm not gonna give away too many details, but they moved to a small town, and it's basically her going through life with a new school, being a new girl, and her different love interests and whatnot, and basically her relationship between her mother Georgia. And if you've already watched this show, then you might have mixed feelings about Ginny, but me personally, she's alright. But like, I was kind of mad at her the whole show, but I'm not gonna give too much away. But yeah, it's a great show, and honestly, I give it a 10 out of 10. Like, I'm ready for season 2, honestly. So the next show is Lucifer, and oh my goodness, it is so good. And like, don't let the name, like, if you're a Christian, don't let the name like throw you off, because I'm a Christian as well. And like, it kind of like, because like whenever I'm watching it in like the living room, my dad's like, what are you watching? I'm like, Lucifer. Like, you're watching the devil? Like, sir. But like, it's actually really good. It's about how basically the devil, he takes like a vacation from running hell, and he visits Los Angeles, and like basically there's like a murder in like one of his nightclub, and from then on he basically just like solves crimes with a detective. And you know, it's basically just about the progression of like him being vulnerable, and basically everything going on in his life with like his brothers and his father. It's like mainly about like the conflict between him and his father and whatnot, and his growth as a person rather than just being labeled as like the devil, all while solving murders. So I give it a solid 10 out of 10. Like, season 5 like part 2 came out not too long ago, and I haven't had time because, you know, I was finishing up school and whatnot, but I'm out of school now, so best believe I'm gonna finish watching that ASAP. Okay, so the next show is Greenhouse Academy, and let's just say there's like, I think 4 seasons, and the first 2 seasons are like the best. So basically it's about these brother and sister, Alex and Haley, who after about a year of losing their astronaut mother in like a rocket explosion, they attend this elite boarding school for like future leaders, which I think her mother was like an alumni there, so they obviously get into the school. And the school is like in a house system, so there's like two houses. There's one, I forget the names, but one is like more focused on like academics, and the other one is more focused on athletics. So Alex is in the athletic house, the Eagles. Yeah, and the Eagles, and then Haley's in the Ravens. So they're like problem solving, academics and whatnot, and the Eagles are mostly athletics. Although they still like focus on academics, they're like more that's where like the athletes go and whatnot. And so basically, throughout the seasons, there's like the two houses come together to like solve like an investigation, and it's actually really good. And I give it a solid 8 out of 10 because I'm giving it 8 out of 10 because of the first two seasons are like really, really good. But yeah, so I highly recommend. That's a good one. I think it's like kind of underrated. I don't think a lot of people, well, a lot of my friends, I don't think they've like seen that show, so I highly recommend it. It's really good. Another show is Big Mouth, and if you haven't watched Big Mouth, what are you doing? Like, it's an animated series, and it's basically about kids. Well, they're in middle school. Yeah, middle schoolers who are basically just transitioning through their lives, like going through puberty, like going through self recognition, self like finding their self identity and all that stuff, like, you know, when you're trying to figure out who you are and whatnot. So that's basically how it is. And it's so funny. It's like basically it's just like little kids, little animated kids, character kids, whatever. And it's just so funny because like it's so like I think it's rated PG-13 or whatever. But like, who doesn't like to watch or look at watch animated characters like with foul mouths and whatnot? I just find it personally funny. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I give it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Because why not? I love it. It's really funny, yeah. So the next show is called Atypical, and I literally love this show so much. It's like, it gives me like Wonder vibes, because like the main character Sam, he is on the spectrum. He is classified as autistic, but he's like, yeah, he's on the spectrum, and he has basically the whole show is just about him and his life and like how he goes through life being a person on the spectrum. And he has a job at like a tech store, and basically him like going through hardships, like applying to college, like being on his own, getting girlfriends, like being able to like socialize with people, make new friends and whatnot. And it's really good. It's very, very wholesome. Yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10. So I do recommend you watching it. Okay, so the next show is Bridgerton, and honestly, I wasn't really gonna watch it because it's not really my genre of choice. But I saw like all over my TikToks, so I was like, let me watch it. And so, excuse me, I think it came out in like December of 2020, I think. And it's based in like 1813, and it follows the story of Daphne. Why you saying Daphne? Daphne, who's like, I think she's like the oldest daughter of like 8 children, I think. And basically how like her journey throughout the whole courting season, and how she like takes a fancy to the Duke of Hastings, which is like her older brother's like best friend or whatever. And like all while this is going on, all these families with girls who are participating in like the courting season, and how they like try to uphold their family names without like being outed by Lady Whistledown, who is like a secret writer who writes articles in like a newspaper, or like she's like writes an article and then just sent like everyone gets it. Like she knows everything. She's like a Regina George, I guess. Like she knows everything about everyone. And so she like basically publishes it, and then everyone in London knows about it. So I highly recommend. I give it a 10 out of 10. I am ready for season 10. Like, yes, I'm ready for season 10. Season 2. Oh gosh, not season 10. I'm ready for season 2. Yeah. The next show is like a very, very good show in my opinion, and it's Alexa and Katie, and it follows the plot of Alexa and Katie, two best friends, Alexa and Katie, who live next door to each other, and Alexa had cancer, and so basically how she ventures through her beginning of high school years, and having her best friend Katie with her, and her not wanting to be labeled, or Alexa not wanting to be labeled as the girl who has cancer. And basically they just go through like basic stuff like relationships, like basic teenage stuff like relationships, school, getting your driver's license, sports and all that, working, jobs. And I recommend, and it's like very wholesome, because I think the friendship between Alexa and Katie is like a friendship that I would strive for. Like, if you watch the trailer, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't want to like give too much away, but I'd love to have a friend that would do what Katie did for Alexa. So I give that show a 10 out of 10. And in the last season, I cried because like it was so good. I don't know why, I just started crying. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so good. So if you love like heartfelt stuff like that, I highly recommend Alexa and Katie. Okay, so the next show is The Circle, and if you love reality TV shows, I feel like you would like this. It's not like as like dramatic as some, but it's like really good. So basically, when people enter the circle, you can either decide to be yourself, or become a catfish. And so basically, it's either one of you, or like if you're in like a partnership, you're in an apartment by yourself, like no cell phones, no electronics, no nothing, and you talk to the other players like through the TV and like monitor screens and whatnot. And it seems pretty cool, but like I feel like being isolated for like 30 days, I probably would go crazy. But yeah, and basically whoever becomes like the most popular by the end of the whole circle, end of the game, wins $100,000. So I highly recommend. The first season, the person who won, it shocked me. It shocked me to the core, deep to the core. But it's okay, because they're a chill person. But season 2, I feel like had a lot more drama, and it was very, very much entertaining. And yeah, so I give it a 10 out of 10. I highly recommend. So you should go watch it. Go watch it. Another show is the show called Trinkets, and I watched this season. There's 2 seasons out, but I've only watched the first one. And basically it's about how these girls like have an addiction to like stealing things, and they all go to the same school, but they don't like talk to each other at all. They don't socialize with each other, but they meet at like one like like those like Gamblers Anonymous and like alcohol groups, whatever, like stuff like that. They meet at a group like that for stealing, and they basically just start hanging out. They do actually steal together, like with each other, and it's kind of like a coping mechanism for some of them. But it's a pretty good show. I give it a 7 out of 10. So another show is Family Reunion, and I binge watched this show so many times. Like, it's basically about a family who the dad is a retired football player, and they moved from Seattle, Washington to his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, or is it? Yeah, Atlanta, Georgia. And basically the troubles such as like discrimination, and like dealing with the kids. The kids have like different stuff going around, and it's very much a wholesome, like, black comedy TV show. And if you guys know who, not Medea, not Medea, Medea, not Medea, Medea. If you know who I'm talking about, she played what is her name? I forget her name, but it has the lady that played she plays in almost every like Tyler Perry movie. She played in Tyler Perry Big Happy Family and like a couple other things I can't think of right now. But if you know who I'm talking about, you'll love the show because I love her. She's hilarious. So I give it the show a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. I love it, and a new season actually came out, and I need to watch that as well. So I gotta hop to it. You should hop to it as well. Yeah, the next show, I wasn't gonna watch it. I really wasn't, but it was all on my TikTok feed, my For You page. So I was like, let me watch it. I watched this whole show in one day. Like I remember this day. I was supposed to be writing an essay. I started watching it, and I just watched the whole thing. I did complete my essay though, so yeah. But anyways, the show is called Juliana the Phantoms, and oh my gosh, it has not been renewed for season 2, and I don't understand why. I really don't. Like I don't understand, because it's such a good show. So basically, it's about this boy band. How 3 out of 4 members of a boy band called Sunset Curve die, and they become ghosts, and they like start up a new band with this girl Julie, whose mother died, and she's had a connection towards music because of her mother. And so basically, somehow, in some way, the boys are like come back as ghosts, and whenever they sing together, they are able to like appear to people other than just Julie. So if you haven't watched it, my friend's like, I'm not gonna watch it. Like, you need to watch it. But yeah, I give 10 out of 10. I give 100 out of 10 actually. 100 out of 10, but I'll give it a 10 out of 10 because I love the show so much. Like, I'm gonna keep rewatching it too. I most surely will. I surely will. This next show is like so good if you're like into like the whole mystery thing, like mystery type dramas. So it's called Get Even, and I watched the show in like a whole day as well. It was so good. And it's about a group of 4 girls called DGM, which stands for like Don't Get Mad. And basically they just expose bullies in their school and whatnot. And one of their targets gets murdered, and their group is framed for the murder. So the whole season is basically them trying to figure out like who actually murdered their victim, or like their victim from like who they exposed, and figure out like who's trying to frame them, and like basically solve who murdered the target without, or the person without getting caught, because everyone else is trying to figure out who DGM is. So they're trying to figure out who did it without exposing themselves. So yeah, I give it a 10 out of 10. It was so good. Like the ending, I was like, oh my god. I was holding my breath. I was on the edge of my seat. Like, it was such a good show. So I give it a 10 out of 10. Next show, if you watch Winx Club as a kid, you will love this show. Like, it's a live action version of Winx Club, and it's called Fate, the Winx Saga. and it starts off with Bloom. She gets enrolled into this boarding school in Althea, which is in the other world, and because like she loses control of her magic, and so while her parents think she's at like some boarding school in like Australia, I think she's at like the school for specialists in fairies. And like was that like from it differs from the original one because like specialists in fairies could be male or female, and like some of the characters have like it's like either the same power, same name, or it's like same name, different powers, or same powers, different name. But yeah, and basically it's about how Bloom is like figuring out her past and like where she comes from. Yeah, and figuring out how to like control her powers while the whole school is like being attacked by these creatures called the Burned Ones, and they're trying to protect their school and everyone in it from the Burned Ones. And there's a lot of secrets, deception. There's some love interests as well. But yeah, I like the end. Literally, the last episode, the ending will have you shocked. Like you'll be, I don't know the word, but yeah, it will have you. It will leave you. It left me speechless. Like I was like jaw slacked. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow. But yeah, I highly recommend. I give it a 10 out of 10. I'm giving like all of these like 10 out of 10s because they're all good shows. Why would I give you guys shows that aren't that good, you know? So these are like all 10 out of 10 basically. So the next show is called Mr. Iglesias, and it's based off a school in Long Beach. And basically the kids in the first season, the kids are like most of the kids are like being in like forced to be in summer school unless like they get kicked out. And so Mr. Iglesias, he's like the teacher that everyone loves, you know. He's like a good, like he's a social studies teacher, and he's like the chill teacher who also like tries to teach lessons, like life lessons, while teaching. And it's just a really good like comedy. It's like those like live action studios settings and whatnot. But I love like the show. I love the show. It's like very funny. It's very like has a lot of comedic relief. You had comedic relief. I can't pronounce it, but yeah, it's a good show. I highly recommend. I gave it a 10 out of 10. So this last show, my friend actually put me on, and after I watched it, I was like, girl, why didn't you tell me to watch this sooner? Like, it's such a good show. It's like a family, like kind of like wholesome show. And I forgot to tell you guys the name of the TV show, but it's called Sweet Magnolias. It's basically about these 3 women who call themselves Sweet Magnolias, and it's like based in South Carolina, in like Serenity. And one of the ladies is an attorney, one is a chef, and one, well, she's going through like a divorce right now, so I don't really remember like what her job was or anything. But it's basically the attorney, she buys a mansion that's like been in the town for like a very long time, and they convert it into a day spa for the women in Serenity. And the story, it just follows the plot of the 3 women and their like love interests, along with like what's going on in their children's lives and their love lives as well. And it's actually really good, and it's like a little bit of mystery, a little bit of drama, but it's very like wholesome, you know. And I highly recommend. I give it a 10 out of 10. I love it so much, and like the ending will like just like, oh my god, like, oh my god. But yeah, so I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm thinking about doing a part 2 where I give you guys TV shows that are not necessarily Netflix originals, but that are on Netflix. So stay tuned for that. And without further ado, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!